we would get, hey, slow down eating all of the food. We're still filming the show. We're going to town eating what we made. Oh, okay, we have to finish filming before you totally crush that plate full of food. And sometimes we'd have to rein it in a little bit because it was delicious.
I love this show. I'm a big D&D nerd, and cooking is genuinely one of my favorite hobbies. So this felt like it was made for me.
Yes, it was made for you, actually, just for you. We've gotten that a lot. There's a lot of crossover between D&D, food, and cooking. And so, yeah, we're pretty excited for everybody to watch it.
I love it. And then can you both talk to me a little bit about how you became involved in this project, and then also just working with Wizards of the Coast and E1 to bring it to fruition?
Sure. You want me to go first, Sue?
Sure.
All right. First, and this is going to be a very important point during every interview, is that our platonic ship name is either Mike Jada or Psych, because that's our mashup name.
Yeah,
so
whichever you prefer. Either or
whichever
both.
One you want to use. So for me, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for years and years and years. I currently play in a 3.5e and DM a 5e. So all the nerds out there know what I'm talking about. But I've talked publicly about my love for Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games. And one day I get an email from a casting person, and they're like, hey, I Google searched D&D chef, and your big bald head popped up. Would you be interested in talking about hosting a cooking show? And doing that is certainly on my bucket list. I'm not a restaurant chef. I'm known as a research chef, so I have a full-time job behind the scenes. And one thing led to another. I'm in Hollywood filming a TV show. So it was a pretty cool thing to be a part of and get involved in. And because I publicly talked about things that I love, somebody found me, and now the stars have aligned, and there's this awesome cooking show coming out momentarily.
5-ish years ago, a group of girlfriends and I got together, and a few of them didn't know how to play D&D. A few of them grew up playing D&D. I was one of those that had never played D&D before. So we got ourselves a friend who coached us to play D&D for about 6 months. And then we put together a group called Girls Guts Glory, where we dressed up as the characters. We did accents, and we filmed it and put our game on YouTube as 10 episodes, and Wizards of the Coast saw it, and they flew us up to Washington to play up there. And that was really awesome. And so that's how I got familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. And then I got the call to be the co-host of this cooking show. And I was very honest, like, I do not know how to cook at all. And I also haven't played since Girls Guts Glory. So I said, I'm very beginner in both of those things. Do you really want me to co-host this show? And they said, yeah. So I was really excited that I was going to be paired with a professional chef like Chef Mike. And he also is very experienced and advanced with Dungeons and Dragons as well. So it's kind of like the perfect team.
I completely agree. I really appreciated that it was a professional chef and then someone who was learning along with the audience, because I thought that brought a unique genuineness to it that I thought worked really, really well. But I'm curious, do you feel like you became a better cook or chef from the show?
I think I did, but something that I've been telling my friends lately is that they've been asking me that same question. And I say, well, what I loved about being on the show is that, what's it called? The mise en place?
Mise en place.
Mise en place, where all the ingredients are already measured out in front of you and sitting there in front of you. And I was like, yeah. If I had someone coming in and doing mise en place for me, then I would be cooking all the time. And I also feel like when I do cook, I use a couple of the items, and then the rest of the items are sitting in my refrigerator for like a week or two, and then they go bad. And then, because I'm just cooking for myself, just like,
yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like in my mind, I became a better chef. Yes.
Oh, for sure. There's your knife skills. You became much more proficient with the knife from beginning to end. That's Caitlin, to your point, she's never really cooked that much before. So the progress from the first episode you are going to see the progress where Sujata then starts answering culinary questions that the guests might have because somebody has been learning the whole time. And so I thought that part was awesome. And the other part of the show that, relates to learning is that I did not write the cookbook. I did not come up with the recipes. I never cooked any of the recipes before the cameras turned on. So I am learning how to make these recipes, reading the book. What do we do next? Let's figure it out together. That is the vibe of this show. It is the opposite of a Gordon Ramsay. I'm going to yell at you and judge you, which there's a time and place for that. This is very introductory. Let's get into the kitchen, become more comfortable. Anybody can do it, and everybody is welcome at our table. Was that our
everybody is welcome at our table. That's our tagline.
Yeah, we learned
one
that.
Of them.
Yes, because also one thing that would have been very helpful for me is having writers, but this was made after the writer's strike, so no prompter, no one's feeding me lines. I've never hosted before, so we're all figuring it out as we go along, which I think gives a cool tone to the show.
It felt like you had hosted before. I will say that.
I'm slightly outgoing. I think that was part of the gig, but Sujata did have to, kind of pull the reins a little bit because I'm meeting these famous people and I want to talk to them before the cameras turn on. And they're like, no. You got to save it for the show.
I would always say, save it for the show.
Matthew Lillard I'm looking at him.
Save it for the show. Save your excitement for the cameras.
Fine.
I can never turn my director hat off. So, yeah.
As someone who also talks to famous people, I understand that because I too am like, I just want to talk to you. Can we just talk
about random things that are irrelevant? So, what's it like to go to the mall? Have you done that? Like, you just get stopped or what? Like, I'll ask questions that are mildly inappropriate to famous people.
I love it. And then you actually had the authors of the cookbook on for one of the episodes. What was it like working with them in front of the camera? And then did you also work with them behind the camera as well?
I got to sit in a room because when they were on the show, after our regular episode ended, they also were filming them talking about the lore of their cookbook. Because in the book, there's reasons why these recipes were chosen. And I got to witness 3 of the most knowledgeable Dungeons and Dragons nerds discuss why this is a thing and why it's not. Should we reference what character from the book should we talk about to reference this? And my mind is, I'm like giddy laughing that I'm in this room listening to this discussion because, my friends and family, we play D&D, we love it. But the deep lore knowledge of just what they know is unbelievable. When you talk a subject matter expert, those 3 are just naming things from old editions of books. Like, this is the reason why. And it just blew my mind. So they have somewhat the same energy as I do of just easily excitable. So it was super easy to have them on the show. But more importantly, I just loved sitting there and listening to them talk, which was incredible.
I think something that I loved about the authors and the book itself was that not only are the recipes in the book, but also little stories right before the recipes describing why they chose this particular recipe for this particular character. And that was something that was fun for me to learn along the way, too.
Yeah, I love the lore within it. I thought that was so much fun. Another aspect of the show I really appreciated was that you cooked the whole meal on the show. It wasn't something where it was like, okay, cool, this is what the finished product looks like, even though we did like a third of the actual cooking. What inspired that decision?
One of the things that I did, so I lost my job early on the pandemic and started a YouTube channel. And I kind of realized that, I went to culinary school, went to Johnson & Wales, professional chef and all that. Most cooking shows are at a level where somebody kind of needs to know what they're doing. So when I made the YouTube channel, it's not only am I trying to teach people who may not be comfortable in the kitchen, I'm on a budget. So if I mess the thing up, like there's an episode of my YouTube channel show where I'm making ribs. It's time to eat it. And it's like a doorstop. Hey, everybody, ribs did not turn out. Here's the reasons why I think that happened. Here's what we might do differently next time. Same thing with the show was we're learning together. There was one, I forget which episode, where the pot was so hot, I added like butter to it and it almost exploded in fire. Like, oh no. So, okay, this is what we're going to do. If the smoke is billowing, pull it up, just pick up the pan as long as the handle's not hot, move it to the side, get it off the heat. If you can add ingredients really quick to cook. So we're troubleshooting as we're going along.
So that was one of those moments where my "it's gonna explode" was really.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I love the questions of, hey, Chef Mike, what if I don't have this thing? What could you do? Just do this instead. If we don't have it, let's, So there is that vibe of, if it goes wrong, we're going to figure it out. And I think that's the most important part of the show that differentiates us from others is it's approachable. We're here to learn. Some of the stuff was okay, not as good as others, but it is what it is. And we learned, and hopefully the next time somebody makes it, it's that much better.
The other thing that I thought was really fun was how you incorporated D&D into the different parts of the show. Like you would have like dice rolls and things like that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I was kind of placed as the game master of the episodes. And that was really fun for me because we would do dice rolls for the sides. And this is stuff I would come in and I'd be like, I don't know what we're eating today. I don't know what we're cooking. What are the sides going to be? And I have a lot of favorite foods. I love to eat, which was another reason why I said yes to this show. And, picking the sides for the guests was always really fun. Or we would use games to get to know our guests a little bit better for dice rolls, for questions. We would have trivia games. Something that I loved was we had a big D20 that was like 3 or 4 times the size of my head that we would be rolling around. And that was always really fun. I loved incorporating the games. Like Mike said, it was just like, it's not a competitive show. It's just very positive, good energy. And I loved showing up to work every day and eating 3 or 4 dishes per day that was delicious. And every time we finished making the dish and shooting the show in the morning, the cast and crew would eat it for lunch, the rest of it that was left over. So that was always a fun thing.
That's very cool. Did you have a favorite dish that you both cooked on the show?
I said this before. I love the shepherd's pie. I can't forget about the shepherd's pie. And I think it's because it had so many rich ingredients in it. And it was nice and buttery and greasy. And it was delicious.
Absolutely. Shepherd's pie. There was a stuffed French toast that I remember was amazing. Was there we did a salmon one that I think what would happen is we would get, hey, slow down eating all of the food. We're still filming the show. We're going to town eating what we made. Oh, okay, we have to finish filming before you totally crush that plate full of food. And sometimes we'd have to rein it in a little bit because it was delicious. We just made it. It's fresh. The guests like it. Like it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
I also loved the steak because I know this is very embarrassing to admit, but I like my steak well done. And so Mike did not judge me for that, which was really, really nice of him. And he made my steak well done and it was delicious and not rubbery. And it was the best steak I've ever had in my life.
That's right. Judgment-free zone. That's not how I prefer. More of a medium rare to medium. But, as a chef who's trying to cook for other people, why would I want to judge somebody if that is how they prefer it? There could be dietary restrictions, health restrictions, a variety of reasons why somebody had a traumatic food illness event with a steak one day and they no longer want to eat it rare. All right, I'm going to make you the best version of what you like. So that's kind of, again, the vibe we had versus, maybe some other cooking shows where it needs to be this way. Not on this show. Not on this show.
I love that. I personally want to make the French toast. I immediately watched that and really wanted that. Yes. And I was really upset I hadn't made that. So I am excited to see all the episodes and try all the recipes. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. The show is so great. I love your chemistry on it, and I am so excited for everyone else to see it.